All right, let's talk for a second. Just you and me. I know how it is being a fan. The moment you hear rumors about a big move, your mind starts racing. You start thinking about the what-ifs, the risks, the upside, the disaster scenarios, and sometimes, before things even become real, they already feel real because of how much noise is out there. So take a breath with me, because what we're about to break down isn't just another rumor. It's something that could seriously impact the direction of the team, and we need to look at it calmly, clearly, and without getting carried away. But first, click the like button and write in the comments, "Go Falcons!" The possibility of the Atlanta Falcons being linked to Tua Tagovailoa for the 2026 season is something that has started to gain real traction, and Falcons fans need to understand exactly what is happening behind the scenes. Reports surfaced that the Miami Dolphins are actively shopping Tua, with their preference being to find a trade partner rather than outright cutting him. That alone should grab your attention. When a team is willing to move on from a quarterback they invested heavily in, especially under a new regime, it tells you something significant about where they believe their franchise is headed. According to what has been discussed, Miami is seriously considering eating the dead money in 2026 to gain long-term financial flexibility. If they take that path, they would free up over $53 million in 2027 and nearly $66 million in 2028. That is not a minor reset. That is a full commitment to restructuring their future. The implication here is that the Dolphins may not view themselves as immediate contenders under their new leadership, and moving on from Tua could be part of a broader strategy to reset the books and build differently. Now, here is where Falcons fans need to pay attention. Betting and futures platforms have placed Atlanta as one of the most likely destinations if Tua is traded, not buried down the list, near the very top. That naturally raises the question, why would Atlanta even be considered in this conversation? Especially when you factor in the current direction of the franchise and the commitment to developing young talent at quarterback. Financially, the numbers are concerning. Tua's projected cap hit for 2026 sits at $56.3 million, ranking among the highest quarterback cap hits in the league. When you look at the quarterbacks around that range, most are either established superstars or long-term franchise pillars. That places Tua in an awkward category. He is being paid like a top-tier quarterback, but recent performance does not clearly support that level of financial commitment. On the field, the concerns extend beyond money. Last season, Tua finished with a 68% completion rate, but he also threw 15 interceptions. His QBR was 37. Those are not numbers that suggest a quarterback elevating his team deep into contention. In composite rankings, he was listed 32nd out of 36 quarterbacks. For context, there are only 32 teams in the league. That kind of placement raises legitimate questions about consistency and impact. Then there is durability. Concussions have been a recurring issue, and availability is a core part of value at the quarterback position. Even if you remove emotion from the equation and evaluate purely from a roster-building standpoint, investing major cap space and draft assets into a player with ongoing health concerns is a significant risk. The reported hypothetical trade ideas floating around include scenarios where Miami would need to absorb part of the contract to make a deal realistic. That in itself shows hesitation across the league. Teams are wary of taking on the full financial burden. For Atlanta, draft capital has been emphasized as currency and flexibility moving forward. Committing that currency to a high-cost quarterback with questions attached could limit other roster-building opportunities. This entire situation ultimately comes down to value. Trades are about acquiring value relative to cost. If Miami is motivated to move on for long-term financial reasons, Atlanta must evaluate whether absorbing that contract aligns with its competitive window and development plan. So Falcons fans, looking at the financial implications, the recent performance metrics, and the broader roster-building philosophy, would pursuing a trade for Tua Tagovailoa truly strengthen Atlanta's future? Or would it complicate a rebuilding trajectory that requires patience and precision? If you continue to connect the dots here, it becomes even clearer why this situation feels so dangerous for Atlanta. The Dolphins are not casually exploring options. They are actively shopping Tua and trying to prevent this from dragging out under their new leadership. When a franchise signals urgency to move a starting quarterback, that changes leverage. And if Miami is motivated by long-term cap relief, that means they are willing to endure short-term pain to clean their books. That should immediately make you pause as a Falcons fan. If the Dolphins are prepared to absorb massive dead money just to reset their financial future, why would Atlanta voluntarily step into that financial weight class? You are talking about a quarterback with a $56.3 million cap hit in 2026. That kind of number reshapes how you build the entire roster. It affects free agency. It affects extensions. It affects flexibility when injuries hit during the season. And let's talk about roster construction philosophy for a second. Draft picks were described as currency. Currency is not something you throw away for sentiment or reputation. It is something you invest for return. If the Dolphins need to include contract relief just to make teams interested, that already tells you the market is cautious. That caution exists for a reason. Performance trends matter. A 68% completion rate looks solid at first glance, but 15 interceptions and a QBR of 37 paint a very different picture. When you combine that with a ranking of 32nd out of 36 quarterbacks in composite metrics, you are not talking about a player trending upward. You are talking about a player whose production is being questioned at the same time his salary peaks. And then there is the risk factor. The concussion history is not speculation. It has been visible and concerning. Availability is not a luxury at quarterback. It is the foundation of stability. If your starting quarterback cannot consistently stay on the field, every other part of the roster becomes harder to evaluate and develop. There were even hypothetical trade ideas circulating, including one where Miami would send Tua with 50% contract relief for a late-round pick. Even in that scenario, you are still committing significant resources and reshaping your cap structure. The short-term satisfaction might feel like action, but action is not the same thing as smart direction. Zoom out and think about the bigger picture. Trades are designed to extract value. They are not about giving a player a fresh start. They are not about emotional narratives. They are business decisions rooted in projection and efficiency. If the Dolphins believe their most efficient move is to reset financially and potentially tank to rebuild, Atlanta has to ask whether absorbing that contract aligns with its own competitive timeline. This entire debate ultimately centers on identity. Are the Falcons building patiently with calculated financial discipline, or are they reacting to market noise? Because once you take on a cap hit of that magnitude, you are committing to that direction for years, not months. The Dolphins appear ready to move forward without Tua. The question now becomes whether Atlanta should even entertain stepping into that equation. Is taking on that level of financial commitment and risk the type of bold move that accelerates the Falcons' future? Or would it compromise the flexibility they need to build something sustainable? Leave your opinion in the comments. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe for more news. Go Falcons!